in this modern life that we lead, everyone will know someone they have to spend time with that you don't really want to spend time with. Maybe it's a friend of a friend or a colleague, and maybe they're just rude and you don't like them. And let's call them Jeff, right? And sorry to anyone listening called Jeff. I'm sure you are a wonderful person, but I need a name here, right? And maybe you say to a friend of Jeff, what's Jeff's deal? Why is he like this? Has anyone brought it up with him? And they'll say, oh no, that's just Jeff. That's just how he is. You can't do anything about it. That's Jeff, guys. And the problem is, you can do something about it, and so can Jeff. This is not an insurmountable thing. And this is how I feel. This is the reason I've started with this nonsense. It's because this is how I feel about Bethesda. They have this reputation for making games that they you know, they've got good stories and nice characters, and people like that. But they are broken as fuck. And when you mention this and you go, I mean, it's a nice game, but it's very hard to play because it's broken as fuck. They'll go, yeah, but that's just what Bethesda do, and you can't complain about it because that's just how they are. But you can complain about it, and Bethesda can do something about it. Bethesda are not a small indie developer here. They've got a few quid. They can afford, you know, they can get some playtesters in here. They can fix these things before they launch them. But they don't. They lean into it. I think you can see this in the way they led up to the launch of this thing, Fallout 76, in that they said there'll be bugs in this game, and it's gonna be, you know, is it a bug or a feature? Lol. And that's the worst thing about this. Not the game itself, which we'll come to, don't you worry, my friends. But Bethesda's attitude to how they treat their customers is bad. It's very, I wanted a better word, but I'm going with bad. It's fully possible to imagine them at E3 next year, looking back on Fallout 76 and going, oh, didn't we release a broken game for 50 quid and play on people's affections for Fallout by just chucking some survival nonsense onto a broken game engine? Aren't we terrible? Anyway, here's Fallout 77. And I think that's the big problem here. And it's shown as well. I don't want to go into like the whole nylon canvas bag thing too much, because it's kind of a silly thing. But also, it's a very good indicator of, I think, how they see their customer base. Because if you don't know, there was a special edition of Fallout 76. It was like, I think it was like 200 quid, $200, one of the two. And it had like a lovely power armor helmet, and it also had, it was advertised as coming with a nice chunky canvas bag. And if you were a regular customer and you bought the edition, you got a very cheap looking nylon bag. But if you were a nice influencer on YouTube, you got the lovely canvas bag. And it is just a bag. It's not that big a deal. But it's kind of a good indicator for how they see their customer base, in that they do not care about you unless you are an influencer on YouTube, or you're going to pull in some views for them or pull in some more money for them. And that's the real mystery for me about Fallout 76. Not that it's just a piece of crap, because it is. Because I don't know why Bethesda released it in its form. I don't mean in its broken form. I mean why it was this big AAA release they built up to and hyped up with, you know, betas and trailers and so forth. I don't know why it wasn't a free-to-play game with more microtransactions, more than it already has. Because, like, they're not strangers to doing that. They did Fallout Shelter, which was a mobile game with microtransactions in. And it's easy to imagine that if they'd have released this as a free-to-play game, it would have got away with a lot more than it has done as a 50 quid full-price game. And they could have, you know, they could have made their money out of it in other ways. And I'm not saying that's right to kind of exploit people in that way by getting them to pay for these microtransactions for, like, you know, buffs and character skins and whatnot. But I'm saying it would have made more sense if I were Bethesda to do that. But they didn't do that. They chucked it out as this, you know, proper game. And I blame Konami for this entirely. And I know that's bad. Well, it's not bad. Konami get a lot of stick already, right? And piling on Konami is probably not fair. But what they did earlier this year, they released Metal Gear Survive, which was the Metal Gear 5 engine, but they chucked in some survival mechanics. Because, you know, they've got this franchise kicking around. Can't do anything with it at the moment. Well, they can, but, you know, they want to fill that gap. So, we'll do a survival game. Fair enough. Now, Metal Gear Survive was all right because it was based off Metal Gear 5. And Metal Gear 5, the story is just fucking nonsense. But there is a very solid game there. It feels great to play. It feels incredibly smooth. The shooting, the stealth, all of that. It's wonderful to play. We're not here to review Metal Gear 5. Okay. But so if you bolt stuff onto that, it's still a playable game, albeit one that maybe doesn't need to exist. But when you are Bethesda and you bolt survival mechanics onto Fallout 4, a game which was fairly well received, as I remember, critically, but was notoriously broken because, Bethesda, then you don't get quite the same effect. What you get is a game that is... I mean, is it a game? I don't know. Maybe this is a preference thing, but it's just... There's a story in it of sorts, but you follow the story by picking up audio tapes and like someone else, the overseer of your little vault, relays their story to you. So it's not even like your story. You're just following someone else's. And in the meantime, you just kind of get put on this... you're just sort of there to, survive, which I get, which I understand if there was a real nuclear apocalypse, that might be how life is. You have nothing else to do apart from... get some water and get some food and just, plod along. But I don't want to spend my free time doing that. It's not a fun experience. I would like a story and a game to play. And the survival mechanics as well they're just difficult. Like, whenever, it's not just a case of finding water, to keep your hydration high and finding food, because everything is infected by radiation because, Fallout. So you have to kind of find things, and then you have to make it safe. Like, you have to purify the water and do stuff to the food, and you have to like constantly find anti-radiation kits and stuff. And it's just like adding this extra layer of nonsense to the whole thing. That just makes the whole thing more of a faff, and it just drags on. And you get this like endless list of side quests and that's not bad in itself, although they are kind of boring. But they just appear down the right-hand side of the screen all the time. So like you've just got all this mess on the screen, and I haven't even covered the glitches yet, have I? If you want to talk glitches, go to the written review on Next Gen Base. I just kind of listed a few of them. But all the good Bethesda stuff: disappearing body parts, getting stuck on stuff that's not there, enemies getting stuck in walls, which at least makes them easier to shoot, because the shooting is not good. Because they took out the VAT system, which was the one thing that made the shooting in Fallout bearable. But obviously that doesn't work in an online game because you can't slow down time in an online game. So you've just got like a elaborate lock-on system. So that's another thing they took out. Along with the characters, the NPCs, which people liked. That was the only really saving thing, wasn't it, about Fallout? People go, I like that guy. And I like the really, really dense lore. Love some dense lore. But no, they took it out. So, fuck you. So what you really have is a game that feels like it has, I don't want to be dramatic, but like no soul. Like there's just no point to it. Like it doesn't have, it just feels and plays like Fallout 4. There's nothing to get invested in. You make your own silent protagonist character. So, don't care about them. And the world just is broken, and it looks nice at times. Like there's bits where there's some lovely autumnal trees, and it looks great. And it's got the Beach Boys on the radio. It's got that really nice Beach Boys song, so that's cool. But that's not really enough to sell a game on, because if you want to hear the Beach Boys, go to Spotify. That exists. And if you want a game with a nice open world, Assassin's Creed Odyssey does that a lot better. If you want a game with some, shooting and combat, Red Dead 2 is... I mean, Red Dead 2 is not perfect, but it's, it's better than this shit. So there's just no place for this, really, without its characters and its lore and its kind of the stuff that held the Bethesda games together. Because with this being an online game, and you having no, NPCs and whatnot, instead you've got other players, other real people online. And the problem is, no one likes gamers. Even gamers don't like gamers. But you've got to deal with these pricks now. Obviously, they don't all have to be randoms, do they? You can get your mates in, and you can have a lovely squad and have a great time. And people say, hey, Fallout 76, it's terrible, but it's better when you've got friends there. That is not an argument, okay? In the same way that saying, Bethesda, They make buggy games, and that's what they do. Saying that games are better with friends is not an argument. It means you've got good friends. It does not mean you've got a good game on your hands, okay? I'd imagine that water torture is more bearable if you can turn to Jeff again and say, isn't this a terrible situation we're in? Right. So there's really very little here to recommend Fallout 76 for. I don't know who is enjoying this game. People are. People have tweeted me and told me they are enjoying it, but I don't understand why. I cannot get, there's nothing there. Normally when you play a bad game, it's like, well, you know, this is not my kind of thing. But I get people like it because A and B. But I don't know what's here, guys. Sorry. If you fucking really like Fallout and you want to play a new game, no, if you want to play a new Fallout game, just play Fallout 4 again, because that's a more enjoyable experience than this. So it is with heavy hearts that I must stick a 3 out of 10 on this, really. I don't know what else you can say. There's just nothing there. Even if you're very tolerant to bugs and glitches, by the way, you shouldn't be. Have some more self-respect. Expect a better product from when you're buying stuff. Expect a better product, please. But even if you're really tolerant to that, there's just nothing enjoyable about it. It's just a nothing game. So yeah, sorry. Don't buy Fallout 76. And don't put up with Jeff's crap. I've had enough of Jeff. Jeff, I've told you before, pack it in. Okay. Like, share, and subscribe. Go to NGB, nextgenbase.com, and all of that. And, leave comments. Tell me I'm wrong. I don't care. Cheers. Bye.
Police, emergency medical staff. They even have an automated system to teach people about treating water.